Our next guest tonight is hailing all the way from Boston, Massachusetts. You can welcome to the show Authentic8401. Hey, thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. How we doing down there?
We're doing good right now. You know, it's the weather out here is always changing, but it's pretty nice right now.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, where in Boston are you from? Because that's it's my hometown.
I grew up right outside of Charlestown and Everett.
Yep.
I had to move a little while ago. I moved up to Billerica, so it's technically not like in Boston, but I wouldn't really claim Billerica. You know what I mean? I still be out in the city more than here.
Yo, absolutely. Alston, Brighton, Somerville.
Okay, word.
Yep. Yeah, I was, an Alston kid for a while, and then moved all the way up north here in Maine now for a while, been up here for a little over a decade now.
Yeah, Maine's. I feel like Maine's nice to relax in too. Like it's just like quiet up there, peaceful.
And honestly, I can send you some links after. There's some pretty big. There's a hip hop festival that goes on every year that's expanding.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's some links I can send you about for getting yourself up here. There's some unbelievable artists in Portland and just in the woods, just doing this stuff, doing the internet thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely would like to check that out.
Oh, absolutely. So for those who might not have heard of you before, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I would say that for me to say, I chose my name Authentic because I wanted to think of one word that would describe like how I kind of go at music. And in my music, I only talk about things that I've seen or done, or I just like to keep it authentic, like no pun intended, but that's just how I wanted to approach everything. Because I've seen some interviews where rappers are talking about how they don't actually do what they're talking about. And I feel like part of music is a way to express yourself. It's an outlet for me more so than anything. So I just try to express myself. And like sometimes if something had gone wrong or something, like everybody's been through some things, and I feel like this is my best way to express myself.
Absolutely. And you're right. There are a lot of artists out there that will rep things that they've never done or lives that they've never lived. And there's something to be said about an artist that's just willing to be completely honest, completely candid, as good as it might sound or as bad as it might sound, regardless of the situation, and just being as real as you possibly can be. And that's, something to be admired.
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite artists is Drake, and I feel like he makes you feel like you know the girls he's talking about, even though you don't. Like he'll have you thinking about something like, oh, like I did that with that girl, like, and you won't even know. And like that's one of the reasons why he's so big. Like he can because everyone can relate to that. Music you can relate to is the best music, I feel like.
I couldn't agree more, and that's exactly why we're doing this here on the Mixtape, is get people exposed to new artists, that are honest, they're working forward, being progressive thinkers, and just putting their best selves out there. And it's been amazing the turnaround I've had just over the last few weeks. We've had hits from all over the world from different artists in just 3 weeks of doing this, which is insane.
Yeah, no, it's good. There's so much talent everywhere, and that's one thing also that I'm trying to do for Boston. I feel like no shade to anybody that's making music in Boston, but we don't have anybody who's like there's no QC or like a YSL, like there's no Young Thug, Lil Baby coming out of Boston right now. And I feel like a lot more of the city needs to work together. That's one thing I notice in like Atlanta or California or New York. Everyone's kind of, not everyone, but people are uplifting each other. They're putting each other on and they're helping each other out. And I feel like in Boston, sometimes people feel like supporting somebody takes money out of their account or something. And I feel like everyone needs to join more together, and we could really like I think Boston's the greatest city, and I feel like there's so many people that make music. There's no reason why Boston shouldn't be booming music scene.
And you're right. And when I was there, there was, like I said, being in Austin and Brighton, you can go to all the different clubs or house shows and just go up and down the strip. And I don't know, something's kind of changed in the mentality a little bit. And yeah. I think, honestly, with everything that's kind of happening in the world right now, there's going to be a larger unification. I think people are noticing their similarities more than their differences. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to bring a lot of people together. And if you're going to, coming out with that message, that positivity, people are going to connect to that, and they're going to want, they're going to want to work with people like that, you know.
For sure.
And I think you're absolutely onto something, and you're right, because Boston doesn't have that big predominant voice right now in the hip hop and rap scene. There's not a tycoon. There's not a tyrant that's just. You think Boston, honestly, you kind of think metal, hip hop, rock and roll, that sort of thing, electronic music, tons of those, coming out of the woodwork in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I've not heard from or seen anyone that's really predominant in the scene right now.
Yeah, nobody's really doing that. And I have a music label that I started. It's called Into Deep, and we have like a clothing brand. And I have artists. I have two other artists from Massachusetts, go by Big Drip and Young Jeb. Those are my two Boston artists. I have one from New York, Key Terra, and then I have one from Rhode Island on there as well, and he goes by Capo Baby. And basically, I made a post, and what Into Deep is, I made this label called Into Deep because I feel like we've all been in a situation where we felt we were in too deep, whether it be the streets, drugs, relationships, or just everyday life. It's my hope that we all make it out of those situations for the better, and I hope that somehow or some way our music and art has an impact on you, possibly even motivates you to keep going and keep pushing through that. And I hope everyone can win, and I hope that everyone respects that and wants to be a part of the family.
Dude, that's fucking phenomenal. I mean, that message right there, it's a universal message that everybody can relate to, and that's awesome that you're pulling artists together under the same mentality, under that same hive mind that just want to progress, and that's phenomenal. And honestly, that same ethos, that same work ethic, that same drive, I think that's what unites so many of the different genres, from the hip hop scene to the metal scene to the punk rock scene to even the folk scene. It's all the same thing. I want to see my brother and sister right there next to me succeeding as we're all doing the best version of ourselves.
It wouldn't be as fun if I won without my friends.
Exactly, Now, how long you been doing Into Deep for?
Into Deep has been going for about I've been writing music since about 6th grade for me. And I honestly just started putting it out and taking music like super serious for about a year and a couple months. So it's been going up for that. But I made Into Deep about I'll say like half a year ago.
Nice. And already you've got 5 other artists besides yourself on there.
Yes.
Dude,
I lived with 2 of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, so you've been doing that for a while. How long you been out doing shows for?
Shows I've been doing for probably about, I would say, like 6 months too. My friends really pushed me to do that because I was always a little more nervous to do that. I didn't know if people would like that I didn't know would like my music, this and that. But it honestly started to get traction on SoundCloud. So then I started to want to do shows because I felt like maybe I am doing something right. Maybe people will like this. So that's why my boy honestly just told me, he was like, I don't know what you're doing. He was like, just start doing it, put it out there, be serious about it. So,
what was that first time picking up the mic? What was that first show like?
It was honestly one of the best moments of my life. Like I felt at home on the stage. Like I almost like a blackout type scenario. Like I wasn't even really like, it didn't feel real. Like,
oh, you're like out of body almost. That's like transcendental.
It honestly went great. It was so much fun. And my last song that I wrote with all my boys, a lot of my boys were there. I brought everybody up on stage. Everyone turned up with me. It was a great show. It was amazing for me.
That's awesome, especially when you can look around and then see all the people that you grew up with together, and you went through this all together, and you're all there sharing that moment. Exactly. There's something to be said about that camaraderie, that companionship while making music with people, and it's hard to put into words because it's this unspoken bond, and if you haven't done it, then you just don't know.
Exactly.
And for all the people out there thinking, should I hit this person up? Should I hit that person up? Do it.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to be capable of and what you'd be able to do together until you just try. I mean, nothing is gained in life without any risk whatsoever. You
gotta bet on yourself.
And then eventually it's just, it's sink or swim. You know, you either jump in the water or you don't at this point.
Yeah, we're swimming over here.
No, it definitely sounds like it, you know, and it's awesome, the amount of artists that I've met through Instagram just in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's
Um,
huge platform to reach out to
it,
everybody.
honestly, it's been more successful than Facebook, honestly.
Yeah, I am honestly like I used to have a Facebook when I was little, but then I stopped for whatever reasons, and I'm newly added back to Facebook and stuff like that, and it does not seem the same as Instagram. Like I do a lot more. I have a lot more like of a following on Instagram and stuff like that, and I meet a bunch of artists through Instagram as well, just for like collaboration purposes and just whenever somebody sends me like songs, I'll always support it because I'd appreciate if I sent somebody else a song and they supported it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So is that where you've met some of your producers is through Instagram?
My producer that I use, I usually grab beats off of YouTube or I'll use some of my producer's beats. We actually live together as well, so I keep like I started a lot of this with a lot of my friends and like that I lived with and I've just been always around. So that's who I usually. He goes by 2K the producer. He mixes all my beats, all of them, but I have some beats that I use from him, but some are from YouTube.
Nice. Well, I happen to be part of a very large electronic music collective. Like I myself produce mostly drum and bass, and then before playing in, you know, metal and punk and hardcore bands, and you know, I just always loved multiple genres.
Yeah.
Always wanted to do it, and then finally got to the point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do all this different stuff, and I really don't care what anyone says. You know, I got a passion for hip hop, I got a passion for punk, I got a passion for jazz. You know, the passion for metal. I mean, music's music. Like I
That's
said, if it's
honestly
honest
super useful because if you mix them all together, you can make some of the craziest beats. Like I think genre mashups, or like just when people do stuff that other people don't do. Like I feel like a lot of people ride waves too sometimes, and that's cool. But like to like make your own thing and have other people like rock with that and want to follow your wave, like that's more impressive to me.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's like what made some of the waves, you know, like in some of the big changes in all the genres throughout. As my cat over there makes a guest appearance. He's my he's my co-host here because he's looking out the window here. Hopefully it doesn't not mess up my lighting. But you know, it's the thing, like those crossovers have been like some of the biggest changes, you know, and you know, obviously there's the obvious ones of Rick Rubin, you know, getting Aerosmith to, you know, work with Run DMC and, you know, getting rock rap together and then making an entire movement from there, you know, and then you end up with like these really niche bands. Have you ever heard of a band called Candiria?
I have not. I'll have to look that up.
I'll send you some links. They are hip hop, metal, and jazz all in the same band. And they're like, they're out of New York.
Okay.
And man, they got a crazy story. I'll tell you about it later. But we would talk about like where fusion's gone to now with all these multiple genres. I mean, it's insane. And then you got great project like Run the Jewels dropping Run the Jewels 4 last week. Just a total fucking game changer on everything right now. They're bringing in the elements of like what Rage Against the Machine was doing in the 90s, but with this modern heavy trap thing. What do you think?
I love bands like Rage Against the Machine. I'm definitely more of like into rap and hip hop, but my dad he put me onto some like rock stuff. Like Rage Against the Machine is definitely my favorite band. That would be like that, just stuff like that. Then there's artists that like mix it up, like Machine Gun Kelly. I think he does a nice job of jumping between genres. Even when Jay-Z had the song with who was it? And Linkin Park.
Yep.
Yes.
I was thinking for a second. I was like, wait, yeah, it was Linkin Park. And that's another great one right there of a great example of this modern fusion right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Like you know, when I was younger, I was really into them and there was a time I got into heavier stuff, but as an adult now, I mean, I look back and think phenomenal artist, really unbelievable. And
Even
like
if you know too, like artists like that aren't even necessarily, I would say, like a genre mashup. Like there's so many good in rap beats now. Like even with like a Gunna or something like that. Like everyone's just making good music. I feel like it's such a time for music.
Well, absolutely. I think when things started, everyone wanted to loop just like that classic break beat. So you only had like a few choices. You had like couple Led Zeppelin songs that you could loop back in the day,
Hmm.
which everybody from the Beastie Boys to Run DMC all pulled that.
Yeah.
Um, and then like everything started to evolve, and you had like the Dust Brothers starting like advanced looping there, which that plays off to DJ Jazzy Jeff, and then everybody starts realizing what they can do with multiple tape decks and getting multi-track going, and then you had this all the it's I think what people don't realize, it was a cumulative effort in
Yeah.
order for every single genre to kind of get where it is today. Because honestly, hip hop wouldn't be the same without rock and roll, and the same can be said about heavy metal, and same for punk rock. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly. All music feeds off each other. Everyone gets inspiration from each other.
and that's the whole point of the mixtape, is to be able to go through and listen to all these different artists and just feel the zeitgeist, what everyone's trying to say, the spirit of the age, that message right now. And what I'm realizing is that there's a massive, like I said, a unified front out there of individuals that are all just trying to get their voice, and with unfortunately everything going on in the world, it's kind of been stifled right now
Yeah,
you
for
know
sure.
so how has everything been affecting you with the pandemic and everything that's going on? Are you working still, or?
Yeah, I still have my full time job because I can work from home and I do stuff on computers.
Yeah.
But the pandemic honestly just gave me time to really lock in, on just doing stuff like this. I design like all the clothes for the clothes brand. I make most of my cover arts. So it just gives me more time really to do everything because I try to do most of the things by myself. Not try to do it by myself. It's just sometimes like I have such a mind that like I'll be up at like 4 a.m. and I'll be like, oh, I need to make like a cover art for this, or I need to make this sweatshirt look cooler or something like that. And so then I don't have time really to wait for people, or if it doesn't come back and I already waited. So I do have a little bit of a habit of just trying to put it all on myself. But I definitely will work with anybody, anytime. I like to work with people that have the same drive as me.
And it's and when you look locally, it's hard to find that type of ambition with people. But when you take your message to the web and you're like, oh shit, and that's
Yeah,
when you realize that there's people all over the world that have the same exact feeling that you do, and they're willing to put it forward. And this might happen to be 1,500 miles away.
yeah, exactly.
So you've been able to use the downtime to benefit. And the same here, make a show, and I got a new album coming out and pushing that as well. And that's something a lot of people have just used that downtime to their advantage to do what the best they could. Uh,
Yeah, I saw a picture that said that if you don't use this time to better yourself, you're doing something wrong. So that impacted me. I saw that. It was just a quick thing too, but I told myself that I wasn't gonna just like sit around or do like I have time. There's no reason why I shouldn't.
well, absolutely. And I found myself like the first week and like, oh, turn on the PlayStation and kind of zone out for a bit. But then I don't know, like you said, like those of us, that have that drive and ambition, you can't sit still.
Yeah,
Eventually it burns in you, and you're not going to be happy until you just push
just
forward.
yeah,
So we're pushing forward, trying for new things. Um, you work with a couple different artists right now, and obviously that's a big part of hip hop and rap. It's collaborations.
yeah. I think the best music comes out of that for sure.
Absolutely. Now, and I'm always curious, to ask any artist, if you were given an opportunity to be able to collaborate with anybody that's on the market right now,
Yeah,
who would you love to work with? Like any genre.
any genre, I would definitely for rapper purposes. Some of my favorite artists that I would love to work with is like a Drake, NBA YoungBoy, Kevin Gates, the Baby, Lil Baby. Those are big up for me right now. Of course, like I like more of like a I'm not as hip to all the rock and metal and stuff, but of course like a Rage Against the Machine. I like Disturbed, um, and like stuff like that. And then just any instruments. I'll always try and find like a new instrument or a way to make it sound cool on a beat or something like that. And there's a lot of samples I would like to use, I forget who wrote it, but the "Take Me Home to the Paradise City." I want to sample that.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I want to sample that bad.
We can definitely talk about that, and we can
Yeah.
probably make something happen because I just produce all day long. I got a actually doing my first hip hop album for a friend, Unique Unknown. We got an EP coming out later out in the year.
Oh,
Yeah, which is I've loved hip hop my entire life. I grew up on it, along with everything else. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this because fuck it, why not?
yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it's a good time for taking risks, trying new things. So given a chance, working with Drake, Young Boys, stuff like that, potentially, folks with Rage Against the Machine, who's like completely off the wall artist, or somebody that if you could work with, who would it be? Kind of like an unexpected.
Okay, an unexpected person. An unexpected person. That's interesting. Nobody's ever asked me that. I would say, I would say probably somebody that can play the piano. I don't really know anyone specific, but I always thought the piano was like one of the most beautiful instruments.
And it's got something like to say, especially for like early 90s hip hop, like those just classic piano full and like no effects on it. It's just a big baby
Yeah,
grand piano. You can, and it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It makes me think of Biggie. It makes me think of old Tupac, and there's something about the production, with those beats. Because we didn't, 20, 30 years ago, didn't have the production value. You couldn't even loop past 8 bars up
yeah,
until the early 90s. And that's what people didn't realize, that, the extent of looping and where everybody had to get really clever with the equipment they had in order to make it work. You
yeah.
had DJs sitting there just running the tape back between two decks and running the same loop between them in order just to get bars to have people to be able to spit over.
Yeah.
It's insane from where we came from when we were kids to where we're at now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's one thing that I'm always curious about, speaking about when we were kids. Now, when you were kids, did you make mixtapes when you were a kid?
I definitely like burned some CDs and stuff like that. Like I put a bunch of different
So
songs.
you're that generation. I call it the like three things. There was those who made mixtapes on cassettes, and
Yeah,
then there was the CD burning generation, and then
yeah,
I guess I'd imagine now would be like a Spotify playlist. Would you like,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I would
you
say
know,
so.
making a Spotify playlist for like your boys or like your girl
Yeah,
or like your family? And I got people that have playlists for fucking everything. The gym, the shower. They're
yeah,
running to
shower
work,
gym, you're playing drive. Yeah.
like friggin' airport mixes and shit like that. But like, so when you were making those burnt CDs, like who were you throwing down to back in the day?
Honestly, I'm a fan of. I was a real big fan of Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was a huge inspiration for me. I honestly really, really like Nas,
Ooh,
Tupac.
you nailed it with Nas for me. Like Nas and
Nas very
Tupac.
much up for me.
Dude, Nas is just phenomenal. And honestly, his name doesn't come up as much as it should.
Yeah, I feel like people don't put as much respect on him as they should.
Even though I was actually looking up of a recent study, because I fucking love data and information like that. It's the geek in me. I was looking at a chart of the artists, or the rappers with the biggest vocabulary, and Nas is in the top like 10% of rappers with one of the biggest vocabularies.
Oh, I would
And
believe that for sure.
dude, I'll send you a link after. It's insane to see like where some of the artists fall on it, and who's got like the biggest vocabularies.
I would say even people that are slept on, that people might not even know about this, but the group Slaughterhouse has some of the craziest pens ever. I feel like to just write some of the lyrics they came up with, I was like, I don't think I'll ever be there.
Who else? We got Nas and Slaughterhouse. Whatever ones were we bumping back in the day?
I liked Drake still even back then, but he was definitely on like a different time. Wayne, I would say. I liked Biggie. I always liked Tupac. I always liked Tupac more, partially just because I feel like Tupac's discography was wider, and I feel like the conversation always is who do you like better, Tupac or Biggie? And I say Tupac just strictly because Biggie's music that he came out with was great, but I don't know, and that's one thing that about music now seeing artists' progression throughout time, they could really fall off in your eyes.
Oh,
Or,
absolutely. I mean, you got, other ones who start off like Gambino, like where he started to where he's at now.
yeah, it's
I
crazy.
mean, first of all, like youngest black writer to ever work for NBC. He was writing for 30 Rock, and then he
Yeah,
was on Community, and then in between takes, he was sitting there writing his first album in the green room, and then look at him now, and it's
crazy
insane.
lyrics too.
And he's honestly had one of my favorite progressions as an artist.
Yeah,
I can't stop listening to him.
yeah.
And honestly, I think he's one of the most influential right now. But also another one that's not as big as some of the other names.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely. I feel like he doesn't get as much credit as he should because a lot of his stuff is good and it stayed good and it was different all throughout. Another artist who was on that time is Kendrick. I would say I definitely am a bigger fan of early Kendrick, like a song like Rigor Mortis.
Yep.
That was insane to me. But I also do still enjoy all of his music that he continues to come out with. I would say somebody like I used to be a really big fan of ASAP Rocky and like the ASAP Mob, but I feel like he might have taken a step back musically. He got more into fashion. I know that one of his closest friends had passed, and that could be something that takes you off the game. Yeah. So it's just
Absolutely.
off the road. That's why I always say Tupac more because I liked all of Tupac's music, and I just don't. Not to say that Biggie would fall off. I doubt it. I doubt he would have, but I just couldn't say for sure.
As an artist, especially from being in the Boston area, like one name, although he is from Providence, that I was actually expecting to pick up a little bit more, but didn't. I miss Sage Francis.
Sage Francis.
Dude,
Yeah, no, that some people just they have all the skill in the world and all the talent, but they just never get the right looks, which is sad.
and oh my God, dude, the spoken word poetry album. I mean, Makeshift Patriot. I mean, oh my God, that entire summer could not stop blasting that album. But then he just, like so many unbelievable artists that in the New England area, and he just kind of fizzled off, unfortunately. And that
Yeah,
was kind of one of those names that could have been something really big, but like you said, it just didn't make the right moves in order to get the name out there.
yeah. Another artist that's I believe is from around here. I'm pretty sure Mike Stud. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I haven't, but I'm gonna write that down.
He makes pretty good music, and I feel like he's starting to get kind of noticed here and there. But I feel like his music is good enough that it should be wide known. Another artist also is CyHi The Prynce. One of the if you're a fan, you say like of Nas and stuff like that, you should definitely check out CyHi The Prynce. He's amazing, signed to good music, but never gets the recognition he deserves, I feel like.
And the thing more recently right now, I like a lot of the oddballs, like MF Doom and stuff like that. I love Tyler the
Yeah.
Creator.
Yeah.
I love artists that are like willing to take a risk. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and Tyler the Creator is just continuously risk after risk after risk, and honestly, it's paid off.
Yeah. His transition is one of the ones that I thought was the most like just from one spectrum to the complete opposite with how he came out with like things like Yonkers.
Yeah, totally. Like you said, everything that this continues to do is just different than he did because obviously he just doesn't want to repeat himself.
Yeah,
And like such a stupidly talented producer. I sit and just try to wrap my head around some of the things that he puts together, and I'm just blown away. And I sit there and try to dissect it and figure out how the fuck he did it, and it's still I'm like, this is insane. It's on a next level.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's one of those artists that just had a progression that you could not predict where they were going to be in 5 years.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. If somebody told me that Tyler the Creator would be making the music the way he is now from that first listen, I would not believe them.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, like you said, it's a very interesting time for music. We have all these different influences and everything that's happening that, and then the capability, what you can do with just a laptop and a MIDI board these days. I mean, if you don't have an instrument, you can make it.
Exactly.
I do it all day long, I'm constantly recreating sounds that I can't make in real life.
Yeah.
And it's insane. And it makes me just wonder like where things are going to be in a year. What's going to be the next big innovation.
Could be completely different.
It is, and it's something to look forward to, and I think we need that right now. Just hope, knowing that things are going to be better down the road as we progress forward, and let it be, through music, through art, through conversation, meeting new people like this,
Yeah, exactly.
The whole point of doing this mixtape, just getting us all out there, getting a voice out there, and really just uniting people through music, and I think it's needed more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing that it just music is always there, regardless of how your day went, how your week went, any of that. It could be good, could be bad. There's music for every emotion and every setting. So that's why it will forever be here, regardless of what happens.
Absolutely, and that's why we'll be a multi-genre show. When some friends are like, why aren't you just doing drum and bass and electronic, or why aren't you doing metal, or why are you doing punk? And I'm like, because honestly, I listen to everything.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of us, all do the same, and so creating a space where maybe you can introduce somebody to a brand new style of music that they never heard of before, from somebody else from around the world, or maybe, they love it so much they want to reach out and collaborate. I was actually talking to my producer, Will, about, that's like one of my dreams for the show, is if two artists on here could get together and do something, then I know that I've made my impact, That's the end goal. Is I would love to be like, yo, Authentic did a collaboration with so-and-so because I saw it on the show, and here's the track, and I get to play it, So hopefully everybody watching that, just know that's what I'm really looking for out of all of you.
Yeah, I am always down to collaborate with anybody, literally anybody, any type of music, anything. I just love music, and I love doing this, my passion, so I'm with whatever.
Well, it's been unbelievable to sit and speak with you. This has been great. I know we're going to obviously continue the conversation after this, but before we head out, any thoughts, personal messages, anything you want to say to the world out there?
I would just say that you have to bet on yourself, invest in yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will. So you have to do those things and just, follow your dreams, do what you want to do. If I never blow up and I never make it, at least I could say I tried, and at least I could say I had fun doing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Where can we find your music?
My music is on Apple Music under Authentic8401, same with Spotify and SoundCloud.
Awesome.
All my videos is Authentic8401.
Perfect. And when we head back over to the show, we're actually going to listen to some of your tracks, show the world some of the things you've been up to. I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you stay well in Boston. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk soon.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.